It is the first episode of Real Talk in April. I'm so
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say that because we don't know what number it is.
yeah. I was gonna say I think 38, but at this point, I think we should just stop. You know, with the numbers.
Okay, y'all have heard it here, folks. We are stopping with the numbers. We are incapable of keeping up with it. But we are so excited to be with our listeners and viewers today. It is, as I said, the first episode in April, and April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we are really proud at our agency, VLink, to be the host of our state's chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. So we're going to be talking Child Abuse Prevention Month, what's it all about, and talking about what we personally do here in Louisiana with our chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. Oh, and why I'm talking about it. Hi. So I am in my position of Vice President of External Affairs at ViaLink. I also have the privilege of being the Executive Director of Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana, which is our state's chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. So Jesse is going to ask me some questions. She already knows the answers because she works here, but we hope it will be informative for all of you.
Yes, yes. So we'll get started. So, what is Child Abuse Prevention Month?
So April is nationally proclaimed as a proclamation to be nationally recognized as Child Abuse Prevention Month. We actually, in Louisiana, were just issued the proclamation from our governor last week for Louisiana, proclaiming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. But from Prevent Child Abuse America, and it's certainly what we believe here in our chapter, because I think child abuse prevention can have this sort of like negative connotation. And absolutely, the theories here from Prevent Child Abuse America with Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana is that preventing child abuse is really about supporting families. It's about upstream approaches for how do we support our families so children can thrive. I think so often the term child abuse prevention can almost have this like message as if it's about villainizing parents when it's so
Right.
the opposite. Child abuse prevention is about looking at where are we failing our families and how can we support them more so that crisis moments do not happen because parents love their children and we all want children to thrive. That's why the symbol of Child Abuse Prevention Month is the blue pinwheel, and you'll see people wearing blue in April. April 10th, this Friday, in fact, is Wear Blue Day, which is kind of the first official kickoff to Child Abuse Prevention Month. So please wear your blue, and if you want to tag us on socials wearing it, we are at ViaLink211. But it's to show that there is one, a stream of hope for the future. And the pinwheel is showing just the endless possibilities. And just remembering that child abuse prevention is about imagining a world with a really wonderful future for all children. And the only way that can happen is when we're looking upstream to prevent child abuse before it happens by supporting our families again so these crisis moments do not happen.
Yes, and that's a wonderful way to explain what it means because you are right. There's stigma around the child abuse just in general, that statement. So I'm glad that you were able to explain that. What is Prevent Child Abuse America?
So, Prevent Child Abuse America is kind of like this national hub. They have existed for over 50 years, and their mission is to prevent the abuse and neglect of our nation's children. Makes sense. The way that they do that is really in a lot of different ways, but they've got a wonderful staff full of like clinicians, researchers, um, policy advocates, and then what they do is they create state chapters and then they help us all to be able to connect and thrive with evidence-based frameworks that we can implement, getting us all together for conferences, getting us all together for meetings, sharing national impact. So on their website, the national website, which is preventchildabuse.org, all one word, you can really see their impact because they also host the data of what are we doing across the nation so that we can see what the impact is of these chapters that they help us to create, to run, to be in uniform, to be doing things that actually matter. Because, of course, it's one thing if you're going to have state chapters, but if we're all doing willy nilly stuff and maybe that it's not impactful, they really help us to be sure and give us the resources for it of like, here is a blueprint, here is a training that you can utilize, here is a conference where you're going to hear what's working in other states. Here's how you can connect with your other chapters and things like that. So it's a really, really wonderful organization. And all I can say about their leadership especially with being a national organization, is that they are so hands-on. Like Melissa Merrick, Anita, all of these wonderful people, Jennifer that work at the national level, like they know who we are in our states. They know what we do. They are so appreciative. They're so hands-on. They're always cheering us on. Like it's just like a really good, feel good organization, which you might not necessarily think when you're thinking about prevent child abuse. But again, it's because it's a hopeful, it's not a punishment organization. This is how do we instill hope? How do we prevent child abuse by supporting our families and by creating beautiful lives for children?
I like that. I think that's a great way to for everybody to go to that website and really see the big difference that the organization's making. So that's really good that we plugged that in. Tell us about our chapter in Louisiana and how it came to be.
Sure. So, I mean, for our listeners who are not in Louisiana, not every state has their own chapter yet. Any state is welcome to apply. So, if you'd like to, you can look into it on their website. But definitely look into who your state's chapter is, or if you have one, and see how you can get connected with them. Because every state does something a little different because we're meeting the needs of what's there, And I think Prevent Child Abuse America is also really like encouraging of that. They want you to be kind of like hub and spoke. They don't want you to be recreating what other agencies or partners are already doing in your state. They want you to figure out how you can help connect those resources and how you can fill in a niche that might be there, a gap that might be there. So in Louisiana, formerly, so as I mentioned now, Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana is umbrellaed under our agency, VIA Link. Prior to that, Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana, really amazing organization, was its own separate entity. Unfortunately, in 2018, as it can go with, nonprofits and people who are doing a lot of good, the funding just ran out. So at that time, one of the components of being a chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America was answering a line that was called Kid Line, which was actually a line for parents. That was a little confusing, which is still a line that exists in many states, but it was so an emotional support 24-hour line for parents. The Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana office, when it was its standalone office, they contracted with us at Via Link to answer that line. Because again, not producing, replicating, whatever, the wheel, they knew Via Link, we answer emotional support and crisis lines. Why would we recreate this when we can contract that service out and support another agency? So we were answering Kid Line for them. I believe it was 2018 when their doors did unfortunately have to close. And again, they were so wonderful. They gave us the rollover funding so that we could keep answering Kid Line because we just all thought it was really important. So it was 2018, maybe 2019. I think it must have been 2019 because then COVID happened. And we were like, well, it's more important now than ever that we're creating this safe space for parents to like get the gunk out. I mean, that, as you know, is for
Right.
all of our lines, our philosophy, but I feel like it's even more sensitive with parents, especially moms, especially new moms with like that's such a stressful time, but everybody only expects you to be like happy and grateful and you can't say all the things. So we wanted to have that space where you can really get that stuff out. So we were contacted by the national office because they were like, hey, you're answering our phone line and y'all aren't an affiliate of us. Like, what you doing? And we were like, that's a valid point. So we were able to actually, they worked with us with this, roll that line into becoming what is now our line at Via Link, Louisiana Parent Line. And so Louisiana Parent Line is available 24 hours a day statewide, and we'll get into it more. But it's providing that emotional support for parents and also connection to parenting resources because VLink has a really amazing resource department. So we are not affiliated with, child welfare or DCFS or any sort of state or Medicaid entity or anything like that. This is a very safe space for parents to reach out. With COVID happening, and we thought that line was so important, we really did like a publicity push with it, and we were able to really get awareness out much more. We used to kind of only get maybe a dozen contacts on that line, and then now, Jesse, as you know, we get a couple hundred each month.
Yeah.
So with that, we were approached by different entities looking about how could we fund y'all to bring our state's chapter back since you're doing this work. So, with wonderful funders like the Louisiana Children's Trust Fund and the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement that do give funding specifically to our, as we call it, PCAL, Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana program, we were able to submit an RFP to bring our state's chapter back. And again, there, Anita Odom worked amazingly with us from the national office to like get our RFP in shape, make sure we were outlining all of our services. And in 2022, we were provisionally chartered. That's just the way that it goes. We didn't do anything wrong. And then in 2024, we got our official charter to be Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana, our state's affiliate of Prevent Child Abuse America. That was like my first like big project I ever really worked on like bringing something into the agency too. So it was a really cool time. Fun story. When our RFP got approved, that was when I had just started like messaging on Bumble with my now husband. And he used that to be able to ask me on our first date. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, this RFP got accepted. And I was telling him all about it. And he's like, well, it sounds like we need to celebrate. How about I take you out? And that was how
That
we,
is so cute.
yeah.
Oh, that is cute. I like that. And I know you mentioned programs. What are our current programs as of right now?
So, with Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana, because it is actually its kind of own entity, umbrellaed under VIA Link, we actually do have our own separate mission statement, or I guess a mission statement that is enveloped within VIA Link. So, our mission statement at PCAL is to have a mission of providing 24/7 emotional support for families, connection to parenting resources, advocacy for children and families, and education for those who care for Louisiana's children. So with that, we kind of have several different like components of programming that we do. And you can learn all about us on our website, preventchildabusela.org. So all one word, preventchildabusela.org, or there's a link to that in a page on our main website, vialink.org. So with providing 24/7 emotional support for families, of course, that is our Louisiana Parent Line, which is available in Louisiana across the whole state by dialing 833 LA Child or texting 225-424-1533. I'm always really careful when I give out those numbers because one time in a news article, I almost accidentally published my cell phone number. So but so that's available 24 hours a day. You're reaching our VIA Link trained specialist. It's only VIA Link's line, so you would only reach us in Louisiana. And that is going to be, again, that safe space to get the gunk out, talk about your fears, frustrations, anything that's going on as it comes to parenting. And then also, that is where we provide that connection to parenting resources. I know we've mentioned before that VIA Link has an amazing internal resource database, and they've worked to actually compile and tag and taxonomy term the resources specifically for parents so that if someone's getting a call into our contact center for Louisiana Parent Line, they can even better and more quickly be able to find those parenting resources. And it's hundreds, probably even thousands that are in there. If that's what a parent is looking for, you don't have to be looking for resources, but if that's part of what you're looking for, we can connect you with that too on the lines. And that can also be information about government programs as well, things like TANF or SNAP or things like that. But again, you just need to get the gunk out. We know, especially like when new moms first go home, that can be a really
Yeah.
isolating time. So that's the place to know that you are never alone. And this line is just for you, answered by people who really care. Or again, if you're struggling and you need some sort of resource connection to, agencies or programs that work with parents, work with families, that's what Louisiana Parent Line is there for. Also, the same specialists who are trained in crisis intervention and also in suicide response, because we know, especially that postpartum time can be an increased risk for suicide. So those are the same specialists that are trained on 988. So they practice all of those amazing de-escalation, conversational, leaning into what your emergency room diversion always, and knowing that struggling with your mental health is never something that would be considered child abuse or neglect. So just knowing that that's a really safe space for you to call into. Looking at the other aspects of our mission statement, advocacy for children and families, we are really proud that we were actually able to onboard about a year and a half ago now, Erin Sims, who we've had on the pod. Check her out, who is our director of advocacy. And man, she is a hustling down at the state capitol, really keeping up with all of our legislature, helping. She's even helped file some bills for child access prevention, which is looking at secure storage for firearms and making sure that we are keeping our children safe. And then she also has now created and sends out a policy newsletter for us where anybody who would like to just kind of help keep track of stuff, she keeps a really great legislation tracker in there and kind of like what bills are tracked and why and things like that. So we're really, really proud of that. And then, oh my gosh, I got to go to the Capitol with her last week. We were looking at another bill, which was about putting 988 on the back of middle school ID stickers. And she just knew everybody there. It was really impressive. And then
Oh, wow.
yeah, she's awesome. And then education for those who care for Louisiana's children. We have a really great training department at B-Link. Of course, we have our internal training, run by Summer Lindsay. Shout out to her. And she trains our contact center staff. And then we also have trainings that we provide externally. We do a lot with our school systems, training faculty on things like trauma-informed education, um, of course, suicide education response specific to those risk factors for our younger folks, crisis intervention and de-escalating, looking at things like understanding bullying from like your policy standpoint as faculty, also even things like creating self-regulating classrooms, understanding trauma, understanding grief, and we can give those trainings out to other agencies as well. We've got an intro to trauma-informed care. We work very closely with our Louisiana CARES network. So CARES is now what was formerly our ACE Educators program, Adverse Childhood Experiences. So we have trainers in that. We have trainers in Stewards of Children by Darkness to Life, which is child sexual abuse prevention training. And we try to provide those trainings for free or at very little cost for the schools, the agencies, the community groups, the churches, the boys and girls clubs, the scouts, whatever it is, anybody who like has their hand in that pot of resiliency for children to be able to provide this education for them.
That's amazing. The next question was, let's talk about the trainings you provide. What are they and what are their purposes? But I think you did touch on a lot of them.
Yeah, I think so. And just knowing that again, our trainings and also parent lines and kind of combine those questions for us is all about looking at upstream and knowing that like with training, if I am, let's say I'm a scout leader, like and my day job is at a bank, that's wonderful. There is no reason why I would have had all of this information about understanding how trauma can present or adverse childhood experiences or knowing how to respond to suicide effectively and things like that. So it's like, but you are a point of resiliency, a beautiful part of this child's life. So we want to be able to provide you that education. The same kind of thing with providing trainings for parents. And again, of course, with Louisiana Parent Line, like I said, we are trained and crisis intervention and de-escalation. It is never too late to call us if you're feeling overwhelmed and in crisis, but also knowing you can call us before that moment. That's that upstream approach and trying to make sure that you can get support before that crisis moment happens. And again, that we can instill our families with the resources we need, knowing where you can get food assistance, knowing where you can get the SNAP application, knowing where you can go find a clinician that's going to work well with your child or their diagnosis, all of that type of stuff. We want to be able to provide, to be upstream, to celebrate and support our families so that we can help them to thrive.
Yeah, and that's amazing that, there's type of trainings is offered because like you said, a lot of people that are scout leaders or different things like that that run different programs, they're not always aware. So having those trainings available is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And I think, we say about V-Link in general all the time, and I think it's certainly true for Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana, is that like we're trying to help the help givers. We want to plug into these niche situations so that you can thrive doing your job. So if that's giving you some knowledge, if that's advocating for services, if that's providing that 24-hour support, because I do always say, I was like, no clinician, no doctor, no one can be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But V-Link can. That's what our contact center is there. So I think that that's really a big part of our mission as an agency as a whole is how do we help the help givers so that all of our communities can thrive?
Right. And I definitely agree on that. And we've talked a lot about V-Link being a 988 center. Let's hear more about Louisiana Parent Line.
Yeah, so Louisiana Parent Line, I know I've talked about it a good bit, so I won't go on too much longer, but I'm kind of proud of I'm very proud of it because it's my baby. But you know, even just, names are important, I think. And I think hearing a name like Louisiana Parent Line that helps someone to know like this line is for you and the struggles that you might be going through or the unique stressors that you might be having is really great. And I could totally understand through just fearing other people won't understand or stigmatization that, let's say a new mom who might be home with their baby or struggling with toddlers or what have you could be afraid to reach out to something called 988, knowing that it's the suicide lifeline. 988 is totally there for them. 988 is there for everybody. But just talking about what my own fear could be with that, where then when I hear something that's a little softer, like Louisiana Parent Line for my specific situation, same theories with our teen text line, it just might give me a little extra like comfort and knowing this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to reach out. And then again, our specialists who answer that line, they have been through the 988 training. They also receive some extra training on, topics that are going to be more common on parent line and navigating that specific resource database, understanding like lingo and knowing terms so that you can know if someone is looking for some sort of maybe like government program or, specifics of, different things with like child health and mental health. So really making that a really safe, like warm environment. It makes me think of like, how hospitals are like super wonderful places and 988 is kind of like a hospital, shall we say. But then when you go into like the nursing like suites and stuff and where the babies are being born, it's all like soft colors and lighting and pink.
Yeah.
And so like Louisiana Parent Line is kind of that place where, 988 is always available for everybody 24 hours a day. So is Louisiana Parent Line if you just like that little extra connection of knowing this line is for you.
Right, right. That makes a lot of sense. And what are we doing in Louisiana this April?
So we are really, I was about to say psyched, but I've like never said that before. But we're really pumped up with Child Abuse Prevention Month. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. We're excited about what we're doing. And there are so many amazing organizations who are doing a lot for Child Abuse Prevention Month here in Louisiana. Like CASA is, our Department of Children and Family Services is, just wonderful, wonderful places that are just celebrating our families again. So for us, we will, of course, be participating in Wear Blue Day. I have been nagging our staff to make sure that they send me pictures of them wearing blue so that we can post that to our social media. So again, anybody participating in Wear Blue Day, if you'd like to interact with us on Facebook or Instagram, we're at ViaLink211. So after that, on the 11th, the next day, we are going to be hosting our second annual Pinwheel Walk. So the Pinwheel Walk is again a really amazing day. We had our first one ever last year. We host the Pinwheel Walk in Mandeville. It is free to attend, and it is just a celebration of families. We meet at this really lovely park, this really lovely gazebo. We've got music, we've got children's activities, we have snacks available. We're gonna have bubbles. I just bought some. It's just a beautiful day to get together and to celebrate families. And with that, we are also going to have amazing resource partners there. So we have got our amazing agencies who are in Mandeville who are going to come provide information tables. I would just like to shout them out really quick. We're going to have NAMI of Southeast Louisiana. We're actually going to have our local Veterans Affairs office. We're going to have Charlie Health, which is a mental health care, behavioral health care that actually does online IOP services, which is really
Oh
cool.
wow.
We're going to have our foster parents division of DCFS. We're going to have United Way. We're going to have CASA. We're going to have the Children's Museum of St. Tammany. We are also going to have the library there. They set up a really cute children's activity. We're going to have River Oaks Hospital, AmeriHealth Caritas, Covenant House, Hope House, Eckerd Connects, North Lake Behavioral Health, Bikers Against Child Abuse, which is a really amazing organization. It is bikers like motorcycle riders, and they have their mission of preventing child abuse, and they also can like give education on like how motorcycles work or just like engage kids because it's fun. Um, Let's see. We are also going to have the Mandy Milkshakers there. We just got that notification. So anybody who's in Mandeville or in St. Tammany is familiar with them. They're just a fun hype group that does cute little dance numbers to kind of help kick off the walk. The actual walk of the Pinwheel Walk is really, really short. We just go around this little park. Last year, So, nonprofit, we put this on for as cheaply as possible. So I have my karaoke machine and my Spotify account going for our music. But right when I gathered everybody to like start the walk, the ads started. And I was like, dang it. But we all have pinwheels. We all have blue pinwheels. It's really great. And then this year we actually were able to be sponsored by some really amazing local restaurants and food providers so that we can have even more refreshments out for everybody. So we are going to have Bamboo of Mandeville, which they are going to be providing fresh fruit teas for our walk participants. We have a really cool raffle from Raising Cane's and also the Beauchene Country Club. We're going to have some pizza from Reginelli's. We've got some soft drinks and water from Coca-Cola. We're going to have jambalaya from the Triple Nickel Grill. We're going to have some amazing coffee from Abita Springs Roasters, and Nostalgia Mexican Ice Cream is going to be on site handing out homemade Mexican popsicles.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it's going to be really cool. So again, please, if you're in the area, if you're near Mandeville, that's going to be this Saturday, April 11th at the Harbor Pavilion in Mandeville. It's on our website, preventchildabusela.org. It is free to attend. Dogs are allowed. We're going to have music, food, kids' activities. And again, it's a great time to get connected to some of those local resources that are there to support our families. Um, After that, we are also going to be hosting two virtual CEUs. We really like to support our fellow social workers and counselors, and we have to have those continuing education requirements by finding opportunities where we can offer some for free to just kind of take a little bit of stress out. So on the 16th at noon, we are going to be hosting a virtual lunch and learn. Our PCAL outreach coordinator, Tammy DeBartolo, is going to be doing a 1 hour training on the intro to trauma informed care. And then on the 28th, I will be performing a CEU on youth suicide risk. So again, those are free. All this information on our website, preventchildabusela.org, and also on our Facebook page, which is at via link 211. So please keep track of us this April. I mean, always do, but it's April now, and we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like the Pinwheel Walk is going to be a blast, and y'all have a lot of good resources out there. So that's definitely going to be fun for everybody that gets to attend. Now, how can anyone get involved if they want to get involved?
So again, reach out to us. Go to preventchildabusela.org. There's a big contact us button. Those will send emails to me. If you'd like to learn more, please come to the Pinwheel Walk. Engage with us on social media. We love that. Tag us in your pictures, tag us in what you're doing. And, shameless plug again, we are a nonprofit. If this is a cause that you would ever like to donate to, you can donate to us on our website, preventchildabusela.org. And we will link our website as well as Prevent Child Abuse America's in our comments and description. But if you or any entity would like to donate, your dollars do go directly to the services we provide that I described earlier in the episode.
Perfect. And that's good that we'll have that and we can share it and everybody that wants to get involved can. And so I really appreciate you explaining everything about April and Child Abuse Month, and I think it's going to be a big hit. The Pinwheel Walk, and I saw pictures from it last year, and it looked like it was just a blast.
It was really fun. I'm super excited. It's like one of my favorite things we do because it's just such a celebratory day. It's a beautiful location again at the Mandeville Harbor Pavilion. Free to attend again. Oh, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's so far, fingers crossed, looks like the weather's going to be beautiful. So yeah, come out, have some bubbles, have some pinwheels, meet some local resources, have some cool local food, and just have a great time with us where we are just again creating an opportunity to really celebrate our Louisiana families.
Yes, I definitely agree.
All right. Well, Jesse, thanks for letting me talk about this today. I
Oh,
appreciate
no problem. And thank you for sharing. I think it's really important because there's probably a lot of people that don't know about that parent line. And I think it's really important that parents feel like they have a safe place to go. So I'm grateful that you were able to, talk about it and spread awareness. And hopefully that will help a lot of parents, to reach out and feel safe to be able to talk about what they're going through.
Absolutely. And just remember again, Louisiana Parent Line reached by dialing 833 LA Child or texting 225-424-1533. And of course, 988 is always available nationally by text, chat, and call. There is no wrong reason. 988 is for everyone. So please, I encourage everyone, especially our parents. It's the hardest job with the biggest responsibility. Always know there's a safe space for you. Please reach out anytime you need to talk.
Yes, please.
All right, Jesse, should we try our sign off?
Let's do it.
All right, this has been Real Talk. I don't even know if I said what we are at the beginning. Well, now you know. This is this has been Real Talk with Jesse and Sherrod. No
No
filters,
filters,
no
no
fluff,
fluff, just
just
real
real
talk.
talk. Thank y'all.
Thank you guys.